The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Politically Speaking here on Rogers TV. I'm Dave Carr, sitting in for David Sherman. David will be back in a couple of weeks. I believe the October 27th show is the show that David is slated to return on. I'm filling in. That's about all. I'm caretaking as we go through a series of events here on Politically Speaking for the municipal election, which is happening now, particularly in regards to the people you will meet tonight, and continues in various forms in various municipalities until 8 p.m. on Monday, October 24th. And then, of course, you'll also see your vote counted right here on the local campaign on Rogers TV. Tonight, questions, comments, observations, thoughts from three candidates who would like to be the mayor of the municipality of Georgian Bluffs for the next 4 years. In alphabetical order, sitting in the middle is Dwight Burley. To his right is Sue Carlton, and sitting next to me is Scott Cato. These are the three people that would like to be your mayor in Georgian Bluffs. We did a draw at the beginning of the program for each of them to have a 90-second opening. We also did a draw for them to have a 1-minute closing at the end of this program. The first name out of the hat for his opening statement was Scott Cato. So, Scott, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Special thanks to Rogers and Dave for putting on this, and you, the viewers out there, and along with my fellow candidates here. Thank you. I have the interest, the vision, the ability needed for change and strong leadership in Georgian Bluffs. There are a number of important issues in front of us: the failed biodigester, our inability to not only acquire but retain staff, bring back simplified approvals, attendance in person at meetings. These are just some of the important decisions that have real impact on real people. And at the Cummo meeting a few weeks back, it was made pretty clear that other than the sale of the airport, little got accomplished in the last 4 years. I truly feel council needs to be engaged and knowledgeable when it comes to the financial operations. We need more oversight for council with responsibility to fiscal management. We can save money. We have the responsibility to the taxpayer to do so. We can be more efficient. And if elected, I feel it's very, very crucial to reestablish the lines of communication with our neighbors. Shared services will benefit us all. There's a ton of issues and a ton of questions out there, and I feel that anyone out there that wants these questions should reach out to any of the candidates here or at the phones, emails, and ask the kind of questions that are important. Thank you very much, and I hope you get what you need out of the information tonight. Thank you.
Scott, thank you very much. The next name drawn was Sue Carlton. Sue, hi.
Hello. As a member of Georgian Bluffs Council for the past 8 years, 4 as Deputy Mayor and 4 as a member of Grey County Council, I feel I have gained an understanding of the type of leadership that is needed at Georgian Bluffs. Prior to being on Municipal Council, my husband and I owned e-embroidery for 18.5 years. I have a background in business where budgets needed to be balanced and customers needed to be served well to ensure they came back with repeat business. I think that business background is of value to my position on council. I see the role of mayor as being that of a team builder, ensuring that all council members are heard in a respectful manner. We each bring different ideas and opinions to the table. We won't always agree, we won't always share the same opinion, but the end result should be what is best for Georgian Bluffs. Everyone in council needs to know that their opinion or idea will be heard, will be valued, and will be respected. As mayor, I promise to strive for open communication between all council members, staff, and ratepayers. Any issues brought to my attention will be shared with staff and all of council so that each of us is informed and so that each of us does not waste staff's time with 7 different emails or phone calls. I will encourage the rest of council to do the same. As Deputy Mayor and a member of County Council, I have served on the Biodigester, Inter-Township Fire Department, and Grace Sauble Conservation Committees, Economic Development, Tourism, and Agriculture Advisory Committees, and both Climate Action Committees, all areas that serve the interests of Georgian Bluffs.
Thank you, Sue. And Dwight Burley.
Thank you, Dave. I've been in the political world since 1991. Have plenty of experience, knowledge, and energy for the job as mayor. This term of council, we must make sure the new council has the proper training brought up to speed what is going on in Georgian Bluffs so we can start working as a team, build trust, show respect for each other and staff in order to move Georgian Bluffs forward into the future. Continue working with our neighbors, have constructive conversations how to build our municipalities. Work to finalize our direction on our buyer gesture to achieve satisfactory results, like, for instance, the sale of an airport. Move forward with our trail and rec master plan. Put in many policies on short-term rentals. There are many other items I would like to address but do not have the time. The last 4 years have been extremely challenging for a number of reasons, but I have gained valuable experience and prepared to continue to successfully lead Georgian Bluffs into the future to listen to our residents' business and work to improve our community.
All right. Thank you, Dwight. Those are your three candidates for mayor of Georgian Bluffs. Those of you that are watching, I would say probably particularly in Owen Sound, this will be of some importance to you because there are some questions that I have tonight that will shape some of this, and those will come up throughout the evening. Every community wrestles with development fees, and Sue, I'm going to start with you, and I'll try to start with different people on different questions, but I'm just going to come around the table. Every community wrestles with development fees, and I'd like to know a couple of things about Georgian Bluffs. And again, full disclosure, I'm a voter in Owen Sound, so some of the things I'm going to ask tonight, I may get an education on as well. What is your personal stance on charging development fees in Georgian Bluffs, waiving fees completely, some kind of holiday for some fees or not for others, sunset clauses, or something else? Development fees in Georgian Bluffs.
So currently, Georgian Bluffs does not have development fees. Any fees charged on development in Georgian Bluffs are through the county. So the last study done was 2014, prior to the election that year, and it was decided by council at that time not to implement development charges. It's probably something should be looked at again because that's been 8 years ago since it was looked at.
Dwight, what's your personal stance on charging development fees, waiving fees, holidays, sunset clauses?
Well, as Sue indicated, we have looked at this issue many, many times. I think the new term of council needs to look at it. It's a topic we need to really seriously look at. We've already started a study in the sense to implement development charges in Georgian Bluffs. We pay in Georgian Bluffs County development charges already, but I don't know. It's something we really need to seriously look at to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We need to pay for new development, there's no question in my mind, but I would certainly definitely look at it.
Scott.
Tricky question because of the counties involved in this type of thing, but I'm probably going to say that I would say that we need to change the way we are developing in that system and putting the fees in place. That gives us a little more ability to basically change how we want development done. It gives us a little bit more control as to different types of developments, I think, that we would be able to manipulate. We seem to have a problem with some of these smaller homes, more efficient style things. We're getting into an area where everyone is talking green, they're talking in the environment, and I think through development fees, that is a way that we would be able to control or be able to ensure that we have a wide range, a very wide range of development, not the same one style of development throughout the township.
Give me some education on this then, because you've mentioned the county. Are your development fees via the county by your choice, or was that mandatory? Is that something you could change as a municipal council if you wanted to?
Those development fees are set by the county.
Okay.
So they charge their own. We have the option of having our own development fees in place as well.
Okay. Let me ask you, I'm going to stay with you, Scott. Where in Georgian Bluffs do you promote new growth, possibly intensive growth in the next 4 years? I've heard that come up a couple of times, that there are some who are interested in seeing that happen in Georgian Bluffs.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it is important that we have growth and we have development within Georgian Bluffs. But one thing I do not want to see, I do want to see the urban sprawl and the agricultural land being sucked up. That is something that we have to really look at, green space, that we have to protect those kind of areas. And that's where we're back to the situation with changing the way we develop, changing how we develop. Putting infrastructure in before we develop is a real concern of mine, whether it's water or sewer within these areas. Picking and designing certain areas that suit a different kind of development, and not just looking at this urban sprawl and dropping houses all throughout the township.
Dwight, where would you like to promote new growth and possibly intensive growth?
We've already started new growth through our municipality. For instance, our Cowell Beach development is expanding very nicely. The Churchside Road going down through there. On the original Sarawak official plan, that was the area for residential growth. It's happening, it will happen. I'd like to see our Springmont Industrial Park expand. That's for dry industry. It's a place for it, and I think we should do it. But we have a different, smaller hamlets throughout the municipality, which I think that's where the growth should be, expanding our hamlets that are already existing there.
Okay, all right, Sue.
I would agree, the Cowell Beach area, because there is water and sewage treatment there. And that sewage treatment is going to be taken outside of the Cowell Beach area and could service out toward the East Linton area as well. So any new development out there would be on full services. I agree with Dwight on the Springmont Industrial Park. That needs to expand and keep the growth going there. And then infill within, like Shallow Lake, where there is a water system. Maybe some more out around Kilsyth where it's already developed, and the same out at Campbell.
Let me ask you about, Dwight, about, you mentioned Spring Mountain. I think at one of the all candidates meetings, somebody suggested that Georgian Bluffs needs a business center. And it sounded like what they wanted was a business center, maybe more centralized. They didn't elaborate. And I wondered at the time when I heard this, first of all, do you need a business center, and doesn't Springmount fulfill that role already?
All depends how you define that business center.
And the person questioner did not. So.
Yeah, and that's something that should be defined first. What do you mean by business center? Are you talking about tourism? Or are you talking about trying to expand business already there or bring new business in? See, the biggest thing about this whole area that we continually wanted all these people to come to GTA, to this beautiful area we live in, come here. We never prepared ourselves for them to come. That's our big problem. Now we're suffering the consequences, trying to deal with what's going on. No one had any idea that the amount of people who come to this area, I know it's heaven and so on, but they never dreamed they'd ever have that amount of people come.
Sue.
I took that question to mean they wanted to centralize the businesses all in one area, and thinking in terms of almost a downtown Main Street. But to do that, we have to pick favoritism between Campbell, Kilsyth, and Shallow Lake. And we already have a business center for industrial, as Dwight said, dry industrial at Springmount. It would make more sense to expand upon services, I think, there and expand that area because it's right on the main highway corridors as well.
Scott, do you remember this question?
I do, and,
Yep.
and I think one of the main things on that question is going to be we have to look at the geographics of Georgian Bluffs itself. It's a very, very large area. It's made up of a ton of unique and diverse areas, towns, villages, agricultural and rural lands, and the only spot that you can really say that you would conceal kind of an area that could be an urban setting would be Springmount area. The only issue I have with that at this problem is the services within sewer and water. To expand it, we need to get that in place, and that's been a real problem. We don't have the ability to just put that in place. We seem to have a lack of ability to be able to get along with our neighbors. So therefore, that's something that has to be in place before we ever look at that kind of an urban setting there in that area in Springmount.
If I may, Dave, I agree 100% with Scott, Singh, and Sue, but the whole idea of dry industry is that it doesn't take that much water. Sewer is quite well accommodated with, say, class 4 septic systems, so it's not something like a big office building that needed a tremendous amount of water and sewage disposal. That's why I say dry industry. I'm talking what we have, car dealers, so on and so forth, and it works out very good.
They use water, but a minimal amount. Sorry,
Can I comment on that? I've actually talked to a couple of people out in the Springmount area there, where they've actually had problems with their sewers and their septic tank systems. With what we talk about is these influx of people, and they just can't handle the systems there. We don't have the sewer capable of handling those kind of large numbers when they come up on weekends or these tourists come up here, and we have to look at that problem.
I ask these questions, especially when we're talking now that we're getting into Springmount / Sunset Strip. I ask these questions because they came up when I was doing my research on Georgian Bluffs. But I remember as a radio newsman going back into the 70s and 80s, I remember talking about this very issue as new businesses opened up on the Sunset Strip, as all the car dealers moved up there, as Springmount really started to blossom. And this was the one great worry, was water and sewage. There's lagoon systems out there that were getting full. I'm not sure what the transition of the Grey County Mall to what it is today with the cinema, I'm not sure whether that exaggerated or lessened issues where that, but this is something I remember for the last 40 plus years, this conversation.
So one of the things that could add on to that, if we were looking at full services or any services going out into the Springmount Sunset Strip area, is the ability to maybe tie Potawatomi Village onto a water system. And they are desperate for good quality water in there. So if we can work with Owen Sound to bring water out there, that would probably be the first spot, and then look at taking it on out. If we had to look at doing our own water system, well, that's the first place that we're going to be looking at tying into, and then expand out into that whole Sunset Strip, Springmount area.
I saw something on that, and it talked about water from East Linton, and that didn't seem, for Potawatomi Village, that didn't seem like a feasible thing.
A few years ago, we had Sue, you were there too, I believe. We had an EA study done to extend the East Linton water system from where it is all the way to the Potawatomi Village. A lot of obstacles in the meantime, in between. We actually were working with the City of Owen Sound to put a water tower up on our range road to help with their water pressure on the west side. We found, once we started getting into it, it wasn't going to be a mandatory hookup at the time. And then we found out a lot of people didn't want to hook on the system. A lot of people do. It was ending up being, the word out there is we never applied for grants. We did apply for grants. We were turned down. I think the water system should be extended across the bridge into the area towards with golf courses and so on. I agree 100% it should be extended. No problem at all with that. But the thing is that the East Linton water system at the time, we put done that EA study and so on, was not a feasible and sensible approach. The best approach, I agree with Sue, is to extend water from the City of Owen Sound into the Potawatomi Village. That is a dangerous area. Can I just talk quickly about the Potawatomi Village?
Sure. You're going to get then Sue and Scott
okay,
to comment.
just quickly, the Potawatomi Village was done by a developer, Mr. Young. At that time, years ago, it was put in a well system, 3-inch lines and so on. At that time, everything was good. Then we had the water crisis come. Ever since that happened, then the Ministry of Environment kept installing new guidelines and restrictions, bang, bang, bang. And every time they've done that, it costs them more money, and harder for those people to control their cost. Is the system practical the way it is now? No, it is not. Maybe the best approach for the Potawatomi Village would be, yes, definitely talk to the City of Owen Sound, maybe extend water and sewer both to that development to pick up those homes. It may be more feasible and practical for the City of Owen Sound to entertain something like that. But as long as the people understand they'd have to pay the same capital costs as what the City of Owen Sound residents do. That's imperative they do that. If they've done that, there's no need of doubling the water rates and sewer rates when it leaves the boundary. Come up with the cost that way. In other words, we need to sit down and talk.
We're going to come back to that last sentence. So, Sue.
So the East Linton system, to take that out through to Potawatomi, meant we needed to get enough people willing to hook on through Summer Street, 30th Street West, where we've been told there's water issues. Anderson Street, there's people living on there who have their water trucked in and put in a cistern. So there's all sorts of areas with water issues between East Linton and Potawatomi. It's to get sufficient buy-in from the residents to make that feasible, and there's too many of them say, well, my water's fine. And do we try as a council to force everybody to hook on? That wouldn't be popular either. So there's issues to be dealt with there. There's a lot of hurdles to kind of leap on that one. So,
Scott.
The Potawatomi subdivision there, that water system there, just the sheer cost to have those residents upgrade that system and have it on their shoulders is just, it's not going to happen, and it's impossible. There is one only option that I see to solve the problem in any way in the future, and that is to tie in with Owen Sound. Well, that seems to be pretty clear that Owen Sound does not want to talk to us right now and doesn't want to work with us.
I'll disagree with you on that point.
But that's the point.
But I'm not a municipal councilor.
That's okay.
So.
But I think there's options there to actually reestablish those communication lines. There's got to be other options down through there with the water systems. I have talked to a lot of people, and yes, one person wants water, and the next person says, no, my well's fine, and I'm not going to pay a large fee for infrastructure to be built. This is part of the reason you had brought it up a bit 40 years ago about the Sunset Strip and the sewer and water problem. And I truly believe we need to stop now and really, really take a look at how we're developing and where we're going to develop and have that infrastructure in place long before we ever start. And that's one of the main issues, is the supply of water. And that has to be planned for.
Dwight, I'm going to start with you. The municipality hosted a meeting a couple of weeks ago regarding the Kemble Arena. What are your personal thoughts on what renovations at the Kemble Arena should look like? How would you spend the $1.2 million grant that I understand you have in hand?
First of all, it's not as a contractor, I have different views and options and so on that I'd like to see done. But me, as the mayor of the municipality, I am not going to comment how it should be done. That's why we had public meetings, to have the residents come to express their concerns, what they would like to see happen and so on. I would like to see things like a senior center where people my age and older can go and sit down and play cards and so on. I would like to see a place where they could play lawn bowling, stuff like that. That's my own view.
Yes,
I really
that's
think
what I'm looking for.
I really think it's up to the ratepayers in that area. It's open for the whole, even Owen Sound and Georgian Bluffs, to be able to use that facility. Make it into a community center so everyone can use it.
Sue, what would you like to see?
Well, I wish I could have gotten to that meeting 2 weeks ago, but I just had the bilateral knee surgery, so I wasn't mobile.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a combination of, we've had the carpet bowling in there, pickleball courts, meeting rooms with good Wi-Fi internet usage, so that if somebody needs to have a meeting, they can have it there. Have it so that somebody wants to have a wedding reception or a family reunion. There's so many different things. Have a good kitchen in there that can be used. Outside, I'd like to see some of the playground equipment that we have out at Shallow Lake, where you have a kids' playground equipment, maybe a running track around that, and adult outdoor workout equipment around that. So mom and dad, granny and grandpa, and the kids can all go there, and everybody works out and plays together. So there's a lot can be done out in that area.
That's right.
And then move on to Kilsyth and get the same thing out there for them.
Scott.
Pretty hard to answer that. I think they covered it.
Okay.
They got her.
All right. If I hear anything, the people in Kemble will probably have more to say about this than anybody, but flexibility is what I hear in all of you. Yeah.
Well, one thing I would comment is we can't just target one group that would be able to use that kind of a thing. We have to target from top to finish, from the seniors right down to the little kids and the toddlers. We have to have something for everyone all the way through.
Community center.
Yep. In your opinion, Scott Caddo, what is the responsibility of your municipal council in the coming 4-year term? And that's the way I put this. What is the responsibility of your municipal council in the coming 4-year term to help bring doctors and probably nurses to this region?
Okay, this question's come up, and it's come up all over the place no matter where you go. The biggest thing I'm going to say about that is we're in a situation here where everybody's well aware. You go to Tim Hortons, the store's closed. You go to different businesses, their hours are shortened. We have a short system. We're short of healthcare workers throughout Ontario. And it seems to be that where everybody is working on trying to outbuy everybody else to get these people to our area. I don't see, like my understanding is right now that I believe that Councillor Thompson, I believe, is on with the group in Wyerton, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a $2,500 a year put towards that group to help entice doctors to come to the area. Our biggest problem is are we going to get into a bidding war for the people that actually aren't out there? Now, for our municipality and within our municipality, I think this is more of a thing that as a mayor or the deputy mayor will be taking to county council. They have a lot more power with the Ontario level and working together. They did a great thing in the last few years, getting the new nursing stuff in at the college up there. That's going to be a wonderful thing for the area. The problem is that's 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I just don't see, and I have not seen any solid evidence out there that any type of program or throwing money at this and any type of systems is making any real difference when the people aren't out there yet. Last time you tried to hire an electrician or a plumber, we're just short of these people. We're short of these skilled labor.
Dwight Burley, in your 4-year term, the next 4-year term, what will your municipal council do? What's your responsibility to bring doctors?
It's very imperative that it's a crisis we have over the whole region. I think we need to work as a region together to solve this problem. I do not believe in the old way of giving bonuses to the doctor to come to the area. That was ridiculous. Should never, ever happen. The big thing we have to realize, too, about these professionals coming to this area, they have spouses. We not only are looking for a job for the doctor, we're looking at a job for their spouse. That has to be really taken into consideration. We as a municipality can look towards helping them out in accommodations, rents and stuff, find them for them, work with them, show them the area, show them what we have here to maybe help them understand why they should come here. And I really feel that Councillor Thompson, yes, he is part of our doctor recruitment with South Bruce Peninsula. It's a group that have been doing fantastic work. They have brought doctors in here, but I really feel they need help. And we did not give them any money this year, in 2022, for the simple reason we were waiting for this group to come back to tell us, okay, what is your approach? How do you want to change your way of thinking, what they're doing, to bring the doctors here? And I think that's what everyone needs to do in the whole region. How are we going to work together to solve this problem? The nurse situation, yes, it's well underway, thanks to the county and everybody. I think everybody worked together on that. But I really feel the doctor situation, we need to look at the whole picture, not just the doctor coming himself, his family, his wife, and his spouse, and so on, and wants to have a job and work here. We have to look after the whole gamut.
Sue Carlton, same question. What is the responsibility, if you are elected mayor, what's the responsibility of your municipal council in the next 4-year term to bring doctors?
So I think council at the municipal level needs to support it, but that's work that's done at the county level. So the mayor and deputy mayor going to the county and working there, I have to say that even with everything the county's done with Georgian College to help set the nursing program up there, you're looking at 30 nurses going into it. 900 people applied to get in there. The 900 might start to meet the need, but how are we getting 30? And it's 4 years before those 30 are coming out into the public. So we're short. We know we're short. I don't know how we address the issue to speed that up, to increase the numbers. We all just have to keep working on it.
Well, let me ask, because apparently, you all can correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I hear from Owen Sound, you have the opportunity to get provincial incentives that the city of Owen Sound does not have. The province, I guess the Ministry of Health, looks at the province and says who's over-serviced, who has adequate service, who's under-serviced. The city of Owen Sound, by virtue of the family health team in the city of Owen Sound, is not eligible for a variety of provincial incentives to attract doctors. The Owen Sound councillors tell me that Georgian Bluffs is eligible for these incentives. So
that could very well be true, because I'm not familiar with how the Owen Sound setup is with doctors and so on. I do know when we bring a new doctor in this area, the thing that really, how would I say this politely, pisses me off, is that they don't give the doctor Owen Sound or hospital privileges. He has to learn it and so on, and that's not right. That will turn any doctor off. And I really feel that it's just, we're not working together. Our doctor recruitment group, they're well aware of and are looking into these, any grants and so on. They work for it, apply, and come to council to help fulfill it and make it work. But those are the people that have the time can do it.
I figure, given the harsh realities of the way things are, that if you, Georgian Bluffs, take the leadership on attracting physicians to Owen Sound, they may work in Owen Sound, but they may not. But they're going to live in Georgian Bluffs. That's one of the
Everybody does.
That's one of the harsh realities of living in the Owen Sound area. You live in Georgian Bluffs or you live in Meaford. You don't want to live in Owen Sound. Sorry about this, but you don't want to live in Owen Sound because of high taxes. And
somebody told me it's because of the mayor, but that could be.
I'm going to break. And I am going to break. But the last thing as we go into break, that again, we talk about Sunset Strip. I would think a doctor doesn't necessarily have to be at the family health team, that he could be somewhere else in Georgian Bluffs. So I'll leave that with whoever becomes mayor on October the 24th. We're going to take a brief time out. I have more questions for our candidates, Dwight Burley, Sue Carlton, and Scott Catto. One of them will be your mayor of Georgian Bluffs. That is entirely up to you between now and October 24th. By the way, in Georgian Bluffs, electronic and telephone voting is open now. In-person voting opens a week from yesterday. It opens on Wednesday, the 19th. So be aware of that. I talked with your municipal clerk, and voting the last time was not great, so I think you know what you have to do. We'll be back. This is Politically Speaking on Rogers TV.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Raven Reads. Unbox Indigenous voices. Subscribe today at ravenreads.org.
This is Rogers TV.
Treaty in Cree is Naskumitoin, an oral agreement, and our agreements were always spoken. For George Spence, the core of treaty was Wichihioin, to help one another.
And so we, the commissioners,
He was there for the making of Treaty 9, where the Cree were told,
we will honor this agreement together for as long as the sun shines and the waters flow.
the Cree made their mark because they were assured that the land would be shared and they would always be able to harvest what they needed. George Spence was my great-grandfather. In his life, he saw many promises of the treaty go unfulfilled.
Treaties were essential to the creation of Canada. First Nations still fight for the agreements to be honored.
Welcome back to Politically Speaking here on Rogers TV. I'm Dave Carr, sitting in for David Sherman. We are having a conversation with three people who would like to be the mayor of Georgian Bluffs after October 24th, or whenever the swearing-in date is. Our guests are Dwight Burley, Sue Carlton, and Scott Catto, and they are here in the studio with me. I've got some questions, and I sort of should be sorting a little bit of this out, but a couple of these deal with you two who have been on council as mayor and deputy mayor, and they may not seem like they directly impact Georgian Bluffs, but to me they do. And if they don't, you tell me, and then we'll move on. And I say this may not directly impact people living in Georgian Bluffs, but I think the procedure does. Hanover says it needs room to grow, and it's eyeing lands in West Grey. You were both members of Grey County Council. An attempt to remove some lands from the discussion failed. You fell on opposite sides of that amendment. Mr. Burley, you were against it. Ms. Carlton, you were for it. One of you is going to be back at Grey County Council next year, and I'd like you to tell me why you feel as you did, why you voted as you did on that issue in Hanover. And the reason I ask is because one of the Owen Sound mayoralty candidates suggests issues like amalgamation and annexation are going to be on the table for his municipality to discuss. And you're right next door. You may get caught up in this, not in Hanover, but closer to home before 4 years is up. So, Sue, I'd like you to begin and tell me why, well, I'll ask both of you why you fell on opposite sides of this, and I will let you get in if you're aware of this.
Yep.
I voted against having that included and kind of taken out of control of the local municipalities at the county level, because I felt at some point that's going to be us in Owen Sound. And do we really want the county bringing that in and designating lands within Georgian Bluffs without talking to us first? I think those are conversations need to happen between Georgian Bluffs and Owen Sound before any involvement at the county level. So that was why I didn't want to see the same thing kind of happening to us that's happening with West Grey and Hanover.
Why were you on the opposite side of that fence?
Because I'm right. No, the reason why I really felt that the county staff, now keep in mind this is a county issue right at the moment. This issue, I felt that the county planning staff brought very good advice to county council, and I really feel that they were not trying to say this chunk of land, in this case was in West Grey, was going to be designated for future growth and so on. They're trying to show an outline where and what could happen. There was no controls, nothing, no comment made anyway to that. Now, as for Owen Sound and Georgian Bluffs, it's something that, as far as I'm concerned, the restructuring part, that's ship and sailed, we're done. Owen Sound has plenty of growth on the east side of their city to expand for quite a few years. There's no advantage to them coming towards Georgian Bluffs to really expand in any way other than to try to pick up tax revenue, that's all. And I really can't see it happening. I really feel that West Grey and Hanover definitely should sit down and talk and see if they can sort out their problems, see what's going to happen. West Grey can't provide the necessary services for that particular area they're talking about, where Hanover can. So the two of them sit down, come up with some kind of an agreement that both municipalities can get along and expand. Let's face it, we all need to expand. And there should be no stumbling blocks, and there's no reason why they can't sit down and talk. Have they talked? I don't know. It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
If I could respond on that. One of the other issues that I felt was this wasn't in the official plan amendment right from day one. So it almost seemed to get added in late in the day and hadn't been part of all of the public meetings. So it didn't seem like it met all the criteria that was needed for it to be included. If it had been there right from day one instead of just being kind of added in at the end, that would be a different story.
Okay. Scott, are you familiar with all of this?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things is I do agree with Sue on this. I would rather see, if we're going to be in a situation where we're going to start getting into mixed matching land with whether it's Owen Sound or whatever, same thing down there. I want to see us draw our own boundaries. I want to see us make our own deals. I want to see us be able to sit down with Owen Sound if that's the situation, and there's going to be some give and takes here and there, and it could be regarding services, it could be regarding water, it could be any of those things, and we need to sit down with Owen Sound, ourselves, and the community, and redraw our own lines. If that's the road we're going to go down, we need to redraw them on ourselves. I don't want someone without the interest, our best interest at heart, especially our taxpayers, sitting there and somebody redrawing their backyard on them. So I believe that this is not a county issue, that we need to really sit down and figure out what we got to give, what we can take, and what we need. And I'm gonna keep the county out of it.
Okay.
We need to draw our own lines.
Dwight Burley, should Georgian Bluffs enter into an agreement with Owen Sound to provide city bus service to businesses on the Sunset Strip in Springmount?
Yes, I think we should sit down and negotiate. We had an agreement one time where they did extend the city bus up to our Sunset area. I'll give you a prime example. The bus service went until 6 o'clock at night. People coming into the shows weren't over at 6 o'clock, over at 8 and 9 o'clock. Did it make sense? No, it didn't make sense. Would they extend the time? No. We need to sit down and come up with a user pay system that if people want to use the Owen Sound buses, extended Georgian bus, we pay our full share of what that cost is going to be. Now, that's where the dispute will come between Owen Sound and Georgian Bluffs. What is the fair share? Let's sit down and get real common sense approach to it and say, what should that be? We're not going to pay for the whole brand new bus depot and so on just to move a bus up to Georgian Bluffs. That doesn't make sense. But if we can come up with what it actually costs to move that bus out to there, let's face it, most of the people will be coming from Owen Sound out to our theaters and so on, for instance, shopping and so on. So let's think about the whole picture. What's good for the whole region?
Just really quickly, does climate change enter into any of that talk?
I don't think so.
We're taking cars off the road?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No,
All
we're
right.
not there. We're still 20 years away.
All right. Scott Caddo,
Yes.
should Georgian Bluffs enter into an agreement with Owen Sound to provide city bus service to businesses on the Sunset Strip in Springmount?
Very tricky question. You're back to the cost and effectiveness of this, and then who's going to pay for it. City of Owen Sound, I believe that there were some other issues that come up where under the Owen Sound talked about issues with the outside area with the drain on Owen Sound services, those kind of businesses within Owen Sound and their tax dollars. We're going to have to pay our way. If we want to put those kind of things in place, we got to pay for our own use. Now, there are other things in place with our services in Owen Sound. I have 2 young kids still playing rep hockey. Both play out of Owen Sound last year, and they all played what we call out-of-town resident Ps. Now, Owen Sound, I think, believes that they're not quite high enough, but if we're going to have those kind of programs with Owen Sound, it's been the same old conversation for the last 25 years. Who's going to pay? And that's where we're back to the table, and it's not happening.
Sue Carlton.
So I think what you're looking at there is a user pay system if we're going to bring busing out. The people using that system have to be the ones paying for it. It can't be on the general tax base because somebody that lives at Oxenden isn't gaining any benefit from that.
Yep.
So who's going to pay for those buses to come out? And it's like Dwight said, the main time that they were needed was for people to get back into town when the show was out or when stores closed out there. The buses only ran till 6 o'clock, so you couldn't make that work at a price that people could afford, because how much are they willing to pay for that bus ride back and forth? Is it just as easy to grab a taxi to make sure you got there before the buses quit running?
Tell me quickly, tell me quickly or not quickly, depending on whether this is important or not. There's a major on-land fish farm proposed for South Bruce Peninsula. Again, it's not in your municipality, but it may or may not have the potential to impact nearly half of your 50 kilometers of Georgian Bay shoreline. I had to go on a map and measure from Wyerton all the way around to 50 kilometers, and 25 of that is between Wyerton and Big Bay. Fish farm right across the road. Do you have? I'm going to start with you, Sue. Do you have any thoughts? Are you? Is the municipality involved in any way with conversations about that?
No, we haven't been.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right.
So level of information has been a little lacking.
Do you need more?
I would think so. We'd need a lot more on that one. And when you talk about the fish farming, it's not actually going to happen out there in the bay. It's aimed way up toward Burford Lake on County Road 9 in Bruce County.
It's on land.
Yeah.
But they're going to be taking water from Georgian Bay, from Colpoy Bay, and they're going to be discharging water back into Colpoy Bay, and the concerns are the quality of the water that goes back into the temperature, the quality, all of that, and that's the point at which I think your 25 kilometers of shoreline suddenly become important to you. Dwight Burley.
Dave, it's an issue that, yes, it concerns the whole region, not only Georgian Bluffs, South Bruce Peninsula. The biggest thing about that whole issue, the same as the one in Meaford, what really got me was signs started going up, don't support the fish farms on, even before the information was put out there to base a decision on. We, as Georgian Bluffs Council, we get staff to bring reports back to us with information so council has something to base the decision on. Those people did not. They started putting up signs. I attended all our public meetings just for interest as the mayor of Georgian Bluffs. I am familiar with what's going on. I've heard both sides. A lot of them are ridiculous. They're trying to ask questions about something they know nothing about, and it's not right. We as Georgian Bluffs, we will monitor it and see what's going on. And yes, will we ever comment on it? Probably not. It's not in our jurisdiction. This fish farm, for instance, when we owned the Wyerton Airport, it did and wouldn't impact the airport because that's how they're going to bring the products in and ship it back out. But that has nothing to do with us right now. But it's just that I really feel that people need to be able to get all the information first, base the decision on information coming forward. If they don't agree with it, say so, but at least have something to base it on. Nothing, they don't now.
Scott Caddo.
Basically, from a lot of people I've talked to up in that area there regarding this fish farm issue, it seems that you're back to the what information is right, what information is wrong. Where are these studies coming from? Where are these numbers coming from? Nobody seems to really know or have true actual data on it. So, something as large as this, it's going to affect our area and our environment like that in the water. The whole thing, the whole process from start to finish through everyone, I think needs to be much more open. And without having the proper information, you can't judge something like that.
No.
As mayor of Georgian Bluffs, I guess the question is, at some point, if that project goes ahead, you have at least 25 kilometers of shoreline, maybe more, that I would think at some point you're going to want to have some say on. Is that fair?
I would say so, yes.
Is that fair?
Depending on the information that comes forward, yes, I would like to know how it would affect us on this 25 kilometers.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm just curious because I'm waiting for that thing, and I haven't heard that anybody's stopping. So
Well, I think the biggest issue with this is everybody's sitting there waiting for the real information to come out. Because how can you make a true judgment on something without the information? And there's the biggest issue with this. Nobody's going to just say I support or I disagree. You can't just say I don't support this just because I don't. Business is business, and we all need it here. But at the same time, the proper information has to be out there for anyone to actually support it or negatively oppose it.
the words transparency and accountability seem to be front and center for this election. I've heard them and seen them printed any number of times from any number of different people. It seems to be just like a phrase that people have latched onto: transparency and accountability. Why? Why are so many people saying this about municipal council in Georgian Bluffs?
I think if you're not following council all the time, and if you're not familiar with how municipal council works, it would appear, and I would say this about any municipality, it would appear that you're not getting all the information. But there's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes by staff with reports coming to council. And if you don't know how to read those reports, you think things are being hidden. If people go back and they only read the minutes of a meeting, those are made to, minutes are done up to capture only the pertinent details, not all the background information. So unless you go read that whole agenda and the 400 page reports that all of council reads, it seems like you're not being kept in the loop. So I think that's often why we hear it. And as I say, you hear it about any municipal council. People say the same thing about everyone.
But tonight we're talking about Georgian
I know.
Bluffs.
Well,
Right, Burley.
I agree 100% with what Sue's saying. Our biggest problem we have as a council, any council has a problem, communication with our ratepayers. It's so important that we do that. Our staff, for instance, put everything on our website and so on. When you stop and think about it, Georgian Bluffs does not have great website throughout our municipality. A lot of people don't even have computers. So it's our responsibility as a council to make sure that we communicate the information back to our ratepayers. We have started that process. We've hired a communication specialist. Her job is to make sure that we put the information out to our ratepayers. She's only been here 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and she's working on that right now. But it'll keep going on for our new council, and I really think that communications are a big thing. Transparency, I think we're all transparent, but Sue's 100% right about the amount of stuff we have to read and understand before we base our decision.
Yeah. Scott Catter.
Well, actually, that's the basis, one of the reasons I'm actually decided to get into this and run for the mayor of the township. And I don't want to disrespect anyone sitting at the table here. I don't want to get into that, because that's not appropriate and it's not right. But I do believe that there is a communication here within council. There's a lot, like I said, I don't want to say the wrong thing here and offend anyone, but there seems to be some issues with council being able to get along. We seem to have a real problem with staff in our office. There's been a number of ongoing issues. I'm not going to get into it in detail here.
I'm going to ask a staff question in a moment.
And I'm not going to comment on any of the individual things that I'm aware of and seen. But that's just one of the reasons why I'm running. I believe that the township and the people in the township have decided, and a lot of them, we have no voice. We're not really seeing what's going on. We're not really hearing what's going on, and they want to know why.
This is really a question for Dwight and for Sue. In 2019, in this current term of office, you suddenly had your CAO on paid leave. You were council members who ultimately terminated your CAO, that is what he says, in 2020, who is now running to sit on council with you. It's been 3 years. First of all, are you satisfied with the outcome? Secondly, for you two specifically, will you be okay sitting at the table with somebody that you fired, presumably for just cause?
Dave, you said it very plainly. That was 2019. There's issues that were going on with the municipality. Staff went to our legal department, we discussed all the issues were happening, and the end result was what happened, that yes, our person was terminated. That has nothing to do with 2022. Anyone has a right to apply and try to join council, which we're doing. And I really feel that what went on there stayed there and has no bearing. If this person wants to come and sit on the council, as long as it's made very clear what happened in the past has nothing to do with what's going on in Georgian Bluffs right now.
Sue.
So you said it there. We had
I think I have to go to closing statements, but go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had just cause for letting that CAO go. And in a lot of ways, I would say we didn't have a choice. That was the decision that legal counsel gave us that we had to make.
Okay, all right. I'm just getting some update from my producer, Mark. Loss of farmland. It's obviously most dramatic around the GTA and around other large cities. What's the greatest threat to Georgian Bluffs farmland, and what are you going to do to combat it?
I really feel that I'm going to we in Georgian Bluffs, we have an official plan for our hamlet areas. We follow the county official plan for our rural areas. And I really feel the county as a whole is trying to protect farmlands every way they possibly can. Can we do better? Yes, we can do better. It's alarming when you hear the news coming back with the amount of farmland that's disappearing, so mainly down south, not up in our area up here. We're very fortunate in Georgian Bluffs. We are a rural community, and we should protect our farmlands any way we possibly can.
Sue.
I agree. It needs to be protected. I don't think it's as large an issue up here as it is down in the GTA, but it's something, yeah, certainly we need to be aware of and always be watching for that and look at everything. The way we say we look at it with a climate change lens, we need an agricultural lens in there as well.
Scott.
Farmland is probably one of the things that we cannot replace, and we are losing at a drastic rate. I really think that we need to change the way we have done our development in the past year within Georgian Bluffs. We can't replace the land once it's gone, and it's extremely frustrating, as growing up on a dairy farm and still on a farm today, is seeing the kind of land being covered up daily. I believe it was 43 acres a day down there towards Toronto Ways being covered up on the way up through. Some of that's the best farmland in Ontario, some of it the best in the world. It's gone, and we're not going to get it back. And to see residential areas and residential sprawl without, even in the hamlet areas, just because we can, doesn't mean we should be taking up agricultural land or agricultural fields to be building more residential houses. That is a priority. We have lots of areas suitable for development, closer to water systems, those kind of things that we can put in place, and that's where we need to develop and protect our farmland and our green areas the best we can.
Thank you. Let me check with my producer and see where we are here, and okay. I'm going to ask if we can deal with this in a minute. The Niagara Escarpment. You talked about the number of people coming to this area from away. You mentioned GTA. But, the people who are coming here and we're not in a position to handle them. I'm actually going to turn to you to ask this question first, but we'll have to be quick in 30 seconds. Protecting the Niagara Escarpment, if all the people are coming that Mr. Burley says are coming.
Those people are coming. He's absolutely right. You have to have agriculture, you have to have tourism, you have to have commercial. You need all these businesses. Do I personally think the Niagara Escarpment is needed? It is needed, but do I see their oversight and their control maybe gone to a little too far over us? I do believe it does, and I'll leave it at that.
Dwight Burley.
Very simply, I agree 100% with what Scott says. Yes, we should protect the Niagara Escarpment. It's there for a reason, but they do need to have a look at how they control their areas and supervise it.
Sue Carlton.
There's a way to look at ecotourism that would protect those areas as well as allow people to come from the larger urban centers and enjoy those properties without impacting negatively on the environment or on the other people that live here already.
We go to closing statements. We offered each candidate 1 minute for a closing statement, and we did a draw, and Dwight Burley was the first name out of the hat. Dwight.
Thank you very much, Steve. In my great wisdom and so on, I forgot my closing remarks or in my Jeep, but anyway, I'll just ad-lib it. I have been the mayor for the last 4 years in Georgian Bluffs. I think I'm experienced, have all kinds of knowledge that I could really move our municipality forward in the next 4 years, and I really feel that we need to be able to communicate with our ratepayers, try and solve all our problems. We'll never solve all of them. Try to solve as many as we can, work with them, but the key is to move our municipality forward. And I really feel that Georgian Bluffs has to look at the whole region, not only Georgian Bluffs. We need to work together to move ourselves forward.
Thank you. Sue Carlton.
Some of the issues that need to be addressed in the new term of council include the biodigester and how it will continue to function, timelines for a strategic plan, an update of our official plan, which includes regulations for short-term accommodations. Our Recreation and Trails Master Plan needs to be expanded upon and implemented. We need to continue to put money into reserves to support updating our roads infrastructure and maintaining our facilities. Good quality water and sufficient water continue to be a concern for many residents. These are only some of the issues that need to be considered by the incoming council. I will work for all the residents to ensure that Georgian Bluffs continues to be the place where you come for the views and stay for a lifetime. I promise to be a leader who will work on your behalf with council and staff to create a community that we can all be proud to call home. I'm asking for your vote to make me the next mayor of Georgian Bluffs. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And Scott Cattle.
I think the biggest thing is, the number one question that I get asked is, and it comes up quite often, is why are you running for mayor? We need more accountability and transparency, as you brought up many times tonight. We need more accountability, and the council needs to be committed to their duties. This requires not only strong leadership, but common sense and a commitment to Georgian Bluffs. I've lived here for 35 years along with my family, Jen, and 3 kids, Evan, William, and Maya, and that's why I'm running for mayor. We've just discussed a few of the things here tonight, pending issues here, that are extremely important, and throughout this campaign progress, I've heard the same thing over and over, the inability to get things done and the lack of communication. I don't want to be here 4 years down the road talking about the same thing. I truly believe we need new leadership, and I'm looking forward to serving the people in Georgian Bluffs, and if elected, thank you, and October 24th, please mark your ballot, Caddo for mayor, for strong Georgian Bluffs. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott Cattle. I want to thank all of you for coming in this evening and doing this. This is important, and you all know it's important.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for putting your names forward in Georgian Bluffs. You need to know in Georgian Bluffs that voting is open now for online and telephone voting. And I'll tell you, on my open line yesterday morning, they were starting to hear some concerns from voters who are not accepting these changes, these technological changes, as easily as I think probably municipalities would have hoped. Nevertheless, online and telephone voting is open, and in-person voting begins in Georgian Bluffs a week from yesterday, on Wednesday the 19th, in-person voting, and continues until Monday, October 24th. Over the last several weeks, you've heard from your municipal clerks explaining the process, and you've heard the mayoralty candidates in Owen Sound, Meaford, and tonight in Georgian Bluffs discussing why they would like to be mayor, what they think they would like to accomplish as the mayor of the municipality, and outlining the reasons why you should vote for one of them. Please do so, and then see your vote counted right here on Rogers TV on the evening of Monday, October 24th. We'll be on the air at 9 p.m. Next week, a media panel discussing the issues in the various municipalities. We'll try to make things a little more clear for you. Thank you for watching. I'm Dave Carr, sitting in for David Sherman. You have been watching Politically Speaking on Rogers TV.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Watching hockey just got a power play with NHL Center Ice and Super Sports Pack. With up to 37 out-of-market NHL games a week, you'll always catch your favorite team no matter where you live. Whether it's big